Hello, everyone. Serena Houghton, Communication Specialist at the Greater Sum. I'm here with Ozzie Baron. Did I say that right?
Perfect. Yep.
Great. With Ozzie Baron, and he's a team member of Project Camp. Ozzie, can you tell us a little bit, very short, what you do for Project Camp?
Sure. So Project Camp does emergency relief childcare. Anytime there is a climate-related disaster that pushes folks out of their house, we can pop up a day camp anywhere in the country within about 48 hours to care for kids so that their parents can talk to insurance, talk to FEMA, get back to work, get involved in recovery efforts, process, etc. And so I am our co-founder and deputy director at Project Camp. I oversee both our camps and I oversee our internal operations as well.
So, how has Project Camp evolved or changed since 2021? I remember Mikey had a mask on for his pitch.
Yes. So Project Camp has changed a lot since 2021 when we first came into contact with Greater Sum. First of all, COVID was in full swing in 2021. When we first applied, we were at one of our first camps ever, and we were all masked up. But aside from the pandemic that has changed everybody's lives in the last few years, Project Camp has grown. We've tripled in size in terms of our team. We've gotten significantly more sophisticated in terms of our understanding of climate-related weather events and how they impact people. And also just on the logistical and operations side, we've gotten much more sophisticated at how quickly we can respond to things. We can get on the ground faster. We can take care of kids in greater numbers. And the trauma-informed side of our programming is leaps and bounds beyond where it was in 2021.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's actually really great news to hear that. We work with so many nonprofits, so when we hear these growth stories, like we've doubled, we've tripled, our capacity. I think that's always a good thing. Like, hey, we invested in a great organization, and here's the rewards of that. Just hearing all these great stories. Thank you.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
No. Okay, so how did Project Camp's mission in Maui go?
Our mission in Maui went very well. We've actually been twice in the 8 weeks since the fire. The first time we went to pop-up childcare for children and families impacted by the fires in Lahaina. And we popped up on the east side of the island. We were there so soon after the event that the west side was still sealed off largely, the west side being where the fire was. But it went well. It always takes a few days after an event like a wildfire for families to be willing to let go of their kids. This was such a devastating fire and such an impactful fire for so many people. There were certainly families that lost family members, children who lost parents, but beyond that, this had such a terrific impact on the community. It's such a small, such a tight-knit community that everybody who wound up in the hospital, everybody who lost a house, everybody who lost a friend and a family member really sort of echoed throughout the entire community. So we did not see, there wasn't the need as quickly for our camp as we had expected, but we were able to get on the ground and provide a place for parents to drop their kids off nearly immediately. And some parents were able to go back to work if they needed to get back to work. Others were able to talk to insurance because they lost their houses and they lost their businesses. Other families were first responders, and so they dropped their kids off so that the parents could go to work on search and rescue or, get back to work with the police force. And it went very, very well, in short. We're always happy to be able to provide relief and care when it's necessary. And this was a situation where it was just abundantly clear how deep the need was. So any little aspect that we're able to add to recovery efforts It's truly an honor to be able to do so.
Does Project Camp work within just the United States, or do you all visit other countries?
That is quite a nerve you just poked. Currently, we are only in the United States. We are talking internally and with our board about expanding outside the United States. Even within the US, childcare regulation is different state by state. So every new state we go to, we need to make sure that we're compliant with childcare regulations, and we're doing every single thing by the book. We always strive to sort of be the platinum standard in the field and make sure every T is crossed, every I is dotted if we're going to be taking in people's kids. So expanding to other countries, it's certainly interesting to us. Canada had a historic wildfire season this year. Australia had a historic wildfire season 3 years ago. There have been tsunamis and floods and earthquakes that we haven't been able to respond to. But figuring out laws in other countries, how the nonprofit and NGO system works in other countries is something that we want to be very careful to do. We want to get all of our ducks in a row, legally and logistically, before we just like show up in England and start taking care of kids. So the worst thing we can do is make things worse. So we are being very careful about it, but we're certainly looking in the direction of expanding beyond the US borders.
So, okay, so for now, it has been mostly providing care within the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was it? How did your team have to prepare to walk into Maui, being a completely different cultural environment than maybe your team is used to, right? They have a language, they have customs, they have a whole different maybe process for mourning or dealing with these situations. Did it take extra preparation in order to do your mission in Maui because of these cultural differences?
That's a great question. Yeah, cultural competency is always deeply important. We could not do the work that we do if we don't do it in a culturally thoughtful and competent way. And working across the United States, Western Kentucky and rural New Mexico and Northern California and Maui are all culturally very different places. And we've popped up camps in all of them. As opposed to, because speed is of the essence and time is of the essence in the hours and days after a big disaster strikes, instead of doing more prep work, we instead have sort of built our operation and our apparatus to build in cultural competency. So the longer answer is we originally thought we would just drop ship the 30 best camp counselors in the country and run the best day camp in the United States anywhere we were needed. But if we take a bunch of counselors from New Jersey and drop them in New Mexico, that may not go as well. It may not be the comfort that they provide in New Jersey. So the shorter answer is the way that we are set up is designed to drop ship just sort of the leadership, 3 or 4 of us who can organize a camp. And then for reasons of cultural competency, we always recruit local volunteers so that the people directly taking care of these kiddos literally and figuratively speak the same language as them.
Great answer.
So
Great
yeah,
answer.
so that way we have
That's awesome.
people from Maui taking care of the kids from Maui. We have people from New Mexico taking care of kids in New Mexico. Sometimes we have Spanish speakers, and if we're in New Mexico and we have local volunteers, some of them speak Spanish, and we've run into myriad issues around the country. But go ahead.
Did you have Hawaiian camp counselors, or was it sort of like you had maybe a couple and then they were sort of mentoring the others who were coming from mainland?
No, that's a great question. We brought a team of 6 to Maui from the mainland, one of whom had lived in Lahaina for 9 years. So she helped get us plugged in to the local level. We also always work with local partners. we are keenly aware of the fact that we are outsiders showing up in a time of need. So in Maui, we worked with the two organizations that run the after school care for schools, which is the Maui YMCA and Kama'aina Kids. And working with the YMCA and with Kama'aina Kids, they were able to help us get tapped into a giant pool of volunteers. So we had 200 people volunteer to come work with us. We had more than one volunteer per kid show up on many days. But yes, we were able to let them work with kids, take cultural cues from our counselors with kids. But instead of them having to teach, counselors from the mainland how to work with kids from Hawaii, we just get youth-facing professionals, teachers, YMCA staff, boys and girls staff, after-school care workers who are local, who are great with kids already. We teach them our approach to trauma-informed care, and then we
Just
use them as our counselors.
model, right. And then my last question is, did you all have the opportunity to work with Child Life Disaster Relief, Katie Neese, during your mission?
Yes, we originally met Katie, the founder of Child Life Disaster Relief, through Greater Sum, because I know they're another alum. And they've been a terrific partner of ours. So for years. So yes, we work with Katie. I meet with Katie every couple of months. We did not directly work with them on the ground in Maui, but they put together a Zoom-based training on trauma-informed care that we helped them plug into the Maui YMCA to get all of their staff and volunteers there. I don't know how successful that was, but we always point to them as really the gold standard in the field for trauma-informed care trainings and thoughtful approaches to how to work with kids. And we worked with them in Kentucky. We had CLDR volunteers. We had child life specialists through CLDR working with kids at our camp in Western Kentucky when the tornado hit Mayfield a couple of years ago. And yeah, anywhere we can, we try to plug CLDR in, or they'll try to plug us in, and they're a wonderful partner, a wonderful thought partner, and a wonderful partner and connector in our space. So we've always been delighted to have met them through you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Ozzie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise.